Alright people, this is an old clip, but I saw the Hodge twins post a video about this, and it is really funny, so it's a link below, check it out. But it featured Joe Rogan saying this.
There's a bunch of shit that keeps you from being a Republican.
Yeah.
But that's one of the, like, people will say, like, oh, you know, you're a secret conservative. I'm like, you could suck my dick. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I'm so far away from being a Republican. Just because I believe in the Second Amendment and just because I support the military and just because I support police. Like, I was on welfare as a kid. I think it's important. I think having a social safety net is
great.
Crucial.
Yes.
It's crucial.
Yeah.
We should help each other. We're supposed to be one big community.
That initial outburst is rather curious, but still, God bless his childlike naivety. I do find this fascinating. There's a lot to go through here. The twins do say that Joe is a moderate, and I'll be honest, that phrase, along with Enlightened Centrist, needs to be fired out of a cannon into the sun. In a previous video, I said Enlightened Centrism is a joke, pointing out that when we say center-left or center-right, you're classed either or based on this numerical representation of political positions, and inquired, are they weighted equally or are some so dense that they can shift you in unequal proportions? The example I gave was of someone who was very lefty when it came to, say, social and fiscal policies, but when it came to immigration, they're basically authoritarian, very protective status, uber nationalistic. Where do they lie now? Are they still quite lefty? Maybe less lefty? Are they lefty at all still? Are they now center-right? Do we have a calculation for this? And if so, who decides and how? No, we don't, because it's all bollocks. Ooh, fascism and communism very aligned, but sprinkle in a bit of that old blood and soil and ooh, suddenly they're proclaimed to be on my side of the aisle. Get lost, you fashy piss boy, you are no monarchist. Ooh, but blood and soil very right-wing. Really? Is that so? Only when applied to the Germans, or will you extend that label to other places as well? The natives who opposed the colonial powers, were they uber right-wingers as well, were they? Or is that label only reserved for those who oppose you politically? You see where I'm going with this? I swear, this whole mentality is a democratic invention, or if not born of democracy, it is greatly amplified by democracy. This stupid notion of compromise, this mythical meet-in-the-middle type of mentality bollocks. If one side is monarchy and the other side is communist famine, why the hell would I exchange some of my positions in order to get closer to commie famine? Oh, because that's where most people are. And? That is good. Why? I'm a monarchist. Why the hell would I care what the majority think? Look at civilization. The best of everything is not found in the mass middle. It's found at the extremes, hence the phrase elite. This is one of the dumbest things that we do. This myth of being too far to the right is somehow dangerous. There's no conversation about the effectiveness or the real-world application of what the hell that even means. No, it just means that too far to the right will somehow scare the electorate. Or is it maybe that the media smears anything that opposes the uniparty's agenda as far right? Ooh, there I go again with my conspiracies. When the boomers croak and God forbid we're left with a sub-bucket IQ Gen Z majority, should we listen to their wishes and whims when they ask for something incredibly stupid just because there's more of them? No, because that's suicidal and insane. This will always drive me nuts. Democracy is basically legalized bribery. That's it. It's openly declaring that power is for sale to the highest bidder, money buys the government, props up the choices for the voters, and then when they get into power, people are repeatedly astounded that they do the bidding of the elite who put them on the ballot to begin with. Shocker! Most people are either too stupid or disinterested to really critique the incentive structure and power dynamics of democracy. But you can probably get most people to agree politicians are lying snakes who only care about money and power, but that's where the productive conversation collapses. Do you think politicians are corrupt assholes driven by greed and personal enrichment and they don't give a damn about the people? Yes. Excellent. Then let's get rid of it. No, that's scary and authoritarian. How do you know that? You ever live on anything else? No. Okay, so let's scrap it then. But democracy, you just admitted they're power-hungry snakes who don't care about you, that your vote is essentially meaningless fantasy. Yeah, but I want the option.
Oh, God. Somebody kill me.
Here is something that I will never understand. Again, democracy not only invites corruption, it requires corruption. And along with it comes a ground that facilitates that the state never stops growing. We have this stupid notion of balance of powers that doesn't factor in scaling. Hypothetically, if you have 3 branches of 10 people each, that makes 30 people. Balanced. If you have 3 branches of 10,000, that makes 30,000. Mathematically, this is still balanced, but the state is 1,000 times bigger. couple this with the diffusion of responsibility and you get no accountability whatsoever. And here's a newsflash for you. That refers not only to the bureaucracy, but also to the voting public. Then, of course, we have this ridiculous moral posturing of, oh, we are less corrupt than the third world. Bullshit. Considering the sheer size of the modern democratic state, you can guarantee the corruption is at least level. The reason why the West spouts such nonsense is because they never go after any political opposition, because that's third world politics, which doesn't negate any corruption. No, there's just a flat-out refusal to tackle it because you think it looks bad. Which then begs the question, what the hell is the purpose of all those probes, investigations, and hearings then, if evidently, as is always the case, fuck all comes from it? If you take this idea even further then, what the hell is the purpose of those jobs at all then? The way our society operates politically is sclerotic, bloated, and fucking insane. How democracy is supposed to function on paper. The people hold the politicians to account, and you have representative government of the people. Is this how government actually functions? No. Is there any conversation anywhere about why this doesn't work? No, it's just vote harder, which clearly does not work. If you go by the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, then voting is a literal act of insanity. If you polled most of the voting public and you ask them, do you think government represents your interests or the interests of the wealthy? If the majority say the latter, then guess what? Democracy as advertised has failed. If anyone wants to know why I keep harping on about democracy, you have my permission to clip that bit, because clearly it does not work. Now that that's out of the way. The thing is with Rogan, I don't really want to have a go at him because he isn't a political author, so going over his positions with a fine-tooth comb is maybe a bit harsh, maybe a bit unfair. Although him pissing off political commentators is always funny. But when it comes to power, he is incredibly naive, because he's an idealist. And by the way, so many political content creators are like this. Hell, the left ones are basically reaction channels towing the leftist line at all costs. And you can guess who I mean. The likes of Cenk Uygur, Pacman, Cedar. You know what these people are going to say before you even click a video. There's nothing new or interesting there. That's a feedback loop. Hence why leftists are all so stupid. Here's the truth. Most people don't want to think or learn anything new. The desire just isn't there. There's this narrow band of acceptability that most people move in, and they just want to consume what reinforces what they already believe. That's most people. Take a moment to ponder this. How many content creators do you honestly know tell you how they want the world to be versus those who deal with how the world actually is? If you had an honest moment, you'd realize there's very, very few of the latter. Rogan's welfare position falls into this. It's interesting how he tries to support his position through personal experience. That to me is guilt trying to masquerade as fairness, and I'll explain why. Actually, firstly, Joe, welfare does not help people. It's the state robbing you at gunpoint. Welfare is nothing but a wealth transfer. It's rather ironic it's called a safety net considering nets are usually designed to ensnare. So many people's perception of fairness get tainted by either personal experience or the potential ridicule from others, hence Rogan's position. His family got state help when he was younger, so for him to advocate for lessening or removing it would be seen as hypocritical. He's kicking away the ladder from behind him. That's a very reductionist take, no nuance whatsoever. Nowhere will you find today, at least from those within the reach of the levers of power, any conversation about welfare, for two reasons. Under the guise of care, it is used to enslave a dependable voting bloc, and two, any discussion about ending it will be smeared as cruel, regardless of how much damage it's actually doing to the population, because again, it's not about help, it is about power. No thought-provoking questions about what percentage of people are now on it compared to when Rogan's family was on it. What is it costing the state? What demographics? What age? Are you bringing in people who are more likely to be on it? What incentives are there to stay on it? And for how long? What kind of damage is this doing to the social fabric or the human soul? Do you think Rogan considers any such questions when he advocates for his position? I don't think so, because again, he's an idealist. He doesn't think about power. He looks at intentions, not consequences. Again, wealth transfer designed to benefit those in power, and that's it. If you're in a position to use this method as a means to curtail the population, to attain or keep power, you would favor more people being on the scheme because it benefits you. You don't care what happens to society. You really want to live under a regime that thrives under this kind of incentive structure? It's a ticking time bomb. Nothing will quite snap you out of that liberal kind of mentality faster than honesty. When you realize Most of society isn't quite as moral as you, disciplined as you. People really aren't as respectful and mannered as you would like them to be. And then one day you wake up and go, I'm actually a hardcore conservative. Yeah, welcome to the club, pal. How do you think I became a monarchist? Here's a tough pill to choke down, but you must. Western society, as it stands right now, is judged by only two things. Social progress, which amounts to acquiring the freedom to behave as much of a hedonistic degenerate as humanly possible, and material prosperity, and that's all. We value nothing outside of this. Half of society is too stupid to understand the importance of the immaterial world, and the other side wants nothing to do with it because it's unappealing. Oh, I want to be fair. Joe, you have any last words?
Vote Republican.
Wise choice, sir. Wise choice.